Hello, welcome to my channel. I am doing a story time on the rise and fall of my marriage and all of the events surrounding it. This is part 4, so if you have not watched the first 3 parts, you might want to catch up. You're joining us in 2018, the spring of 2018. My husband had just gotten a brand new job with a lot better pay than we were used to, and it was away from all the drama from his old job. And my best friend's husband worked with him, and it seemed like a good solid job. And the only downside was he worked midnights, which is not, he typically was a day shift kind of guy. He went to bed early, he got up early, so midnights was kind of an adjustment. And I was a little concerned. I had expressed concern to him, like, how are you going to handle midnights? And he assured me I was going to be fine, it was no big deal. So he started this job and he seemed to like it. He complained that, it was hard work, and he was always one who would complain about his back and his legs, and he couldn't work this hard, and he was going to have to take an early retirement, blah, blah, blah. That was just his thing. That's what he always said. So, at this point, that just went in one ear and out the other. He did not like to work. He still to this day does not like to work. But he assured me that midnights would be okay and that he would power through it. So a few weeks into working midnights, he comes home one morning and he tells me that he worked with this chemical that if you breathed it in, for the 10 hours or whatever it was that he worked, 8-10 hours, it would make you be unable to sleep for a while. So I was like, oh, that's weird. That sounds terrible, but okay. So he told me he was going to be up for a while. And I was like, okay, that's fine. He goes into his shed. He's working on all of his woodworking stuff because he had all of his woodworking tools and stuff out in his shed. And that's where he spent the day. And I didn't really think anything of it. This kind of started happening periodically. He'd come home and tell me that, he worked with that chemical again and he was going to be out in his shed until he got tired. And then he'd be out in his shed for a while, and, sometimes it would be a day or two, sometimes it would be, a few hours, just whatever. And I happened to mention something to my friend whose husband worked there, and I, said something about that chemical, and she was like, oh, I don't think my husband's ever had to work with that one. That sounds terrible. And that was it. Her and I thought nothing more of it after that. And so he's working this job in the spring, all through the summer, again, periodically coming home after working with this chemical. He made friends with this guy at work and, was hanging out with him at his house, out in the country. Everything was going well. Financially, we were doing good. For the first time basically ever, I was able to take the kids after summer was over. I was able to take them back to school shopping and get them a really good amount of clothes. Christmas wasn't such a struggle. It was, things were kind of going well. So then we're gonna fast forward to winter it was either the very end of 2018 or the very beginning of 2019. My husband is out in his shed, per usual. He spent a lot of time there, either in the shed, in the basement, or over at his friend's house. And one day he calls me, on his cell phone. I'm in the kitchen, I'm making dinner. He calls me and he says, tell the kids to look out the window. There's a snowy owl out there. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, in the tree. I can see it from the window in the shed. And I'm like, okay. So, I call the kids and I'm like, do you guys see an owl in that tree? It was winter, so, there's snow all over everything. I'm like, I don't see it, but, maybe my eyes are just bad. And my kids are like, no, I don't see it, but okay. So I was just kind of like, oh, okay, that's great. I'm like, dinner's almost done. I'll let you know when it's ready. And we hang up the phone. And then next thing you know, he's texting me and calling me and telling me that the owls are attacking the shed. And I'm like, listen to me. I am standing in the kitchen. I can see your shed from this window. There's no owls. No one is attacking you. Like, what are you talking about? He's like freaking out about these owls. And I'm thinking, okay, what is going on with this man? So then I start thinking, because a few weeks prior, my best friend had called me and she had said, hey, I just want to let you know there's some rumors going around work that Bob is using cocaine. And I was like, oh man, okay, like, thanks for the heads up. I guess, if he is, that's terrible, but like, we don't have a bunch of money coming out of my bank account, so, I don't really know. And so I just kind of left that one be, but, kept it in the back of my mind. So I called my sister during this owl incident, and I'm like, hey, really weird question for you, but when your ex was really bad into cocaine, did this ever happen? I explained to her what's going on, and she's like, no, he just came home and beat me. I was like, oh, geez, okay, so I guess this isn't probably a cocaine issue. So then I start thinking, okay, he's always complaining about his health. He's 50, almost 50 years old, or maybe he was 50 years old. No, he's almost 50 years old. I'm like, maybe he really is like on these drugs. Or, I mean, not on these drugs. Maybe he really is like having some sort of medical crisis. So then I start thinking, okay, maybe he's got like some sort of blood sugar issue or something. So dinner's done, and I'm trying to get him to come in the house, and he's telling me he can't come in the house because the owls are coming after him. And I'm like, I'm telling you, like, he's telling me the owls are dive bombing the shed. And I'm like, he is absolutely losing it at this point. Like, what is happening? So I finally convince him that I don't see any owls. I think it's safe to come running into the house now. So I watch him fling the shed door open, and he's like taking these huge steps, covering his head, running into the house. There is nothing there. I have not seen a single owl that whole day. I don't even know if we can get snowy owls where I live. I'm going to be honest with you. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? So he comes in the house, and he's in the kitchen. And at this point, my kids are downstairs because I had just made dinner. So I called them down for dinner. And my middle son was fed up at this point because he had been watching his dad freak out about these owls for a while now while I was making dinner and stuff. And, he's listening to him call me, and like, so he shouts at his dad and screams, "There are no owls. What is wrong with you?" And that seems to like kind of snap my husband out of something. He's like, oh, okay. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, maybe I'm just overtired. So I'm like, I think there might be something going on with you medically. Like, are you feeling okay? And he's like, yeah, I feel fine, but I'm tired. Maybe I just need to eat and go to bed. So he eats dinner, and then he says he feels okay and he feels better. And then he goes upstairs and he goes to bed and he goes right to sleep. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe it really was a blood sugar issue, and eating the food like kind of stabilized him. So the next day I'm like, hey, I'm really going to need you to go to the doctor and get checked out. Like, what happened last night was not normal. And he's like, yeah, I will. I'll make a doctor's appointment. Then he tells me the next day, or maybe later on that day, he tells me that he went to his friend's house, the one that he was always hanging out with at work, and his friend's diabetic, and he tested his blood sugar with his friend's test strip, and his blood sugar's fine, so he doesn't need a doctor. And at this point, I'm like, you know what, whatever. You want to think that owls are attacking you when you go out to your shed, that's fine, I guess, whatever. I can't force this man to go to the doctor. So I just left it alone and hoped that it was going to be kind of a one-time incident. And of course it wasn't, but I'll get to the next thing that happened in the next video. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, or if you're watching this on TikTok in October, please follow my TikTok, then go subscribe to my channel. And huge thank you to Vivs for playing the game for me so I could record this voiceover. Bye.